Hello and welcome to this episode of Coffee with Kelsey. Thank you so much for joining us and learning more about Adoray Home Health and Hospice and getting to know a few more of our team members. Today I have with me is Gregg and Lucas, who are our grief and spiritual counselors here at Adoray. So thank you so much for joining me today and letting our viewers know a little bit more about the services we have at Adoray. So just to start off with, what does grief support look like at Adoray?
Well, it's really a team support in the sense that we've got social worker involved, we've got the chaplain that may or may not be involved, and we'll have volunteers. So we are with the families for a total of 13 months after the passing of a loved one, with a number of different contacts to help them through the grieving process.
Yeah, and I think it's important because we take a holistic approach here at Adoray. You know, just a couple of minutes ago, we were part of a meeting which the doctor and the nurses and the social workers and the massage therapists and ourselves were a part of, and we all come together and find the right fit of care for each patient that we see. So that's really great. That's really great to be a part of.
Wonderful. So why do you enjoy working at Adoray in our grief and support programs?
Yeah, so I am a brand new employee here at Adoray. It's my first time being a chaplain, working with hospice. I served as a pastor in a more traditional way of when people hear a religious leader in serving. And it's a great opportunity as a hospice chaplain to kind of share all types of faiths, that we are all in this together, and finding ways to give not just spiritual care but emotional care as well. So we cover of giving the sacraments of communion and a blessing, to just listening to people and maybe even playing chess if that's something that helps them in their spiritual care. So it's just a great way to kind of have that humble curiosity in finding ways where people find their connectedness in this world.
And the only thing I would add to it is probably our greatest quality is if we can close our mouths and listen. When we have a patient that starts talking, more often than not, we just have to be quiet. And then we're going to be able to help them when they are able to share what's on their mind and heart.
So we know we have the holidays coming up, and holidays can often be a very difficult time for loved ones that are grieving the loss of a loved one that has passed. Do you have any tips for those that might be grieving during the holiday season?
Yeah, so we typically, as being this holiday season, as being this joyous occasion. Well, that's not exactly true for a lot of people. People are reminded of the people that they have lost, and it's important to recognize that and be sensitive to those people that are feeling those particular feelings, which is absolutely normal. One of the things that I continually tell the people that I see is to be mindful of taking care of yourself in the sense of sleeping, eating, and drinking. And the one big thing, which I know as Midwesterners we hate to do, to ask for help, to reach out to those friends and family members, and even to Adoray, that we're here to support you. And you would be surprised in how much a friend or a family member or someone in the community can help you in ways that you can't imagine.
And one of the things I always recommend is to tone back on what your activities are. You know, the holidays tend to be a rush, do everything that you can, be over the top, and people that have lost a loved one, first off, aren't going to feel like doing it. And secondly, if they can keep their expectations low and keep things calm, it's a much easier holiday for them to spend.
You know, when it comes to grieving, it's not just the 5 steps of grief. It's redeveloping what a new normal is like. And that takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of time to process what that's going to look like. And that can be scary, it can be anxiety, it can be, you can feel anger about your new normal not being what you expected. And that's okay to feel those things.
Those are excellent tips. So what happens in the case where you're perhaps not going through the first holiday without a loved one? What if you're 2 years down the road and you're experiencing grief? What happens then?
Well, I think that the important answer to that, regardless of anything, is to realize that grieving is a process and it's individual for everybody. So if somebody hits a grieving a year or 2 or 3 down the road, don't be surprised by it. As an example, I've had people say that the wife, an example, would be wearing a particular perfume all of her life. And the husband would be in the store a year or 2 after, and he'd smell that perfume, and it brought back all of these. So understand that it is normal for grief to last quite a while. And then be conscious of it. And the other thing is that grief can cause depression. And if you feel very down, you're feeling low, you can't get out of bed, even a year or 2 down the road, if it lasts more than 2 weeks, the psychiatrists recommend you at least get evaluated. Depression could be there.
And I just want to lift up that seeing a therapist is very normal, and seeing a medical professional is not something to be ashamed of. I saw a medical professional just to continue my emotional health, and so I just want to lift up that is a very normal thing, and you'd be surprised at how many people do seek someone like a therapist or a psychologist.
Yeah, especially with depression, there's still a stigma on it. I was diagnosed chemically depressed in 1992. I've been on medication and counseling for the last 30 years. So feel free to reach out. It's not to be ashamed of.
And I just want to lift up what Gregg said. It might be a good Christmas one year, and it might be a really hard Christmas the following year. You know, I talked to someone which their birthday was on the 7th day of a month, and their spouse was on the 7th day of the month, and they got married on the 7th day of the month. And sure enough, on the 7th Christmas of not having their spouse or their loved one was the hard Christmas for them, because 7 had such a important thing in their relationship. So you never know what each Christmas or each holiday season will bring, but know that you're not alone, and know that you do matter. Is really important to remember.
Thank you so much for sharing these tips, the advice, and just a little bit about what you do here at Adoray. Thank you again so much for joining me today. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Coffee with Kelsey. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, and we look forward to next month.